Good evening. This is a supplement to the Intro to Illustrator Class 2 Blue Note album cover assignment. I am looking for Frank Sinatra. I would like to search for an image of Frank Sinatra that is of adequate resolution for my 12-inch album cover. I have punched in Frank Sinatra's name to a Google image search query. My images are showing up as Frank Sinatra. I have the ability to scroll over each one of these images and see that the numbers are changing. 2000 pixels, 4000 pixels, 4000 by 400, 4000 pixels. The image sizes are changing from small to big to small. This is just a general image search. If I were to click on search tools to reveal that I can use more than the size, color, type, etc. for search tools. Size is what I'm looking for. I can, instead of searching for any size, I can go to larger than 4 megapixels. Click, and images that are higher than 4 megapixels will be revealed. And this is the image that I'm going to hone in on. It looks like it's 4000 by 4000 pixels. Click on it. Let it fully load into a new window. Take a look at this image. It looks adequate for what I want to use it for. If I click it and drag it to my desktop, open it in Photoshop, and look at the image size. You can see this image is 10 by 10 at 400 pixels per inch. If I click off resample and punch in 300 here, you can see that my image size moves up to 13 by 13. So what I've done is I've taken the image that was large, it's 400 pixels per inch, and I have stretched it, I've made it larger, I've made it 300 pixels per inch. I wanted to make the image bigger. Instead of 10 inches by 10, I wanted it to be, and I'll go back to 400, it's 10 by 10. If I take the pixel dimensions down to, or up to a higher number, this width and height is going to change to a higher number. It's bigger than my 12 by 12 inch album cover. Say OK, save the image, go to Illustrator, place the image, the image I've dragged into place. The image is linked. Frank Sinatra on the desktop. It's a grayscale image. If I wanted to embed it, I could embed it into Illustrator, so it cannot be edited in Photoshop. It will be purely embedded into the Illustrator file, so I can close the file, save the file, and then send the file to myself or bring it to another computer. If I want to edit the original, it will right now open in preview. If I tab back to Photoshop, just to make that connection more clear for Illustrator to recognize, I can do something to the image. Let's say I paint on it. Hello, Frankie. And go to File, Save, Command Tab back to Illustrator. Illustrator notices that there's something wrong. Some files are missing or modified in the links panel. Would you like to update them now? Yes. Goodness, no, that was wrong. I don't want those white lines in that position. Command Tab back to Photoshop. Move through the history panel before I made that change. Command S for save, tab back to Illustrator. Illustrator notices something has happened. I would like that change to be updated, and the change is updated. So you can see how Command Tab will allow me to toggle back and forth between Photoshop and Illustrator, changing my image and updating it in my Illustrator layout. In this case, I would like to create a brightness and contrast layer and up the levels of contrast here a little bit and take the brightness down slightly. I'm going to flatten this layer or flatten this image and then save again. I need to make sure that this image stays exactly the same as the image that's on the desktop. Not the image itself, not what it looks like, but what it is called. If I have a multi-layered image, I will have to save it as a Photoshop document. This image that I'm using in Illustrator is a JPEG. So now I'm going to update the links panel, say yes, and you can see the brightness and contrast has changed. So that's one reason. Another reason to link is changing brightness and contrast, adding content, eliminating blemishes, editing your image, taking out the background in Photoshop, masking it out, etc. So here we are, back with this linked file on layer 1. If I were to create a circle or an ellipse that looks like a circle, I'm pressing Shift to constrain. I've got that ellipse on top of the linked file. If I select both objects, and you can see in the layers panel both are selected, and I go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make, I have created a clipping mask which shows up in the layer as a clip group. I've got the clipping mask itself, which is editable. I've got the image, which is editable, transformable. I can move it, I can make it bigger or smaller, or I can add content. So I'm going to add content to my clipping path. So I'm dragging the rectangle under the clipping path, and you can see I have now a band of blue in my clipping path, or under it, and the clipping path, the image, and the band of blue, or the blue rectangle, are all connected by the clip group. So they're inside the clip group. So no matter what I drag into the clip group, as long as it's under the clipping path, it's going to be constrained by the clipping path. It's pretty cool. Move that over to the side. I'm going to copy that image and paste it onto the screen. I'm going to now create a compound path with pressing Option, pulling out a copy, pressing Command D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles. So I've got 5 rectangles that I've created by creating the first one and then pressing Option to pull out a copy and then Command D to pull out the duplicates. I've repositioned my rectangles. They are on layer 1. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. If I were to create a clipping path now, Object, Clipping Mask, Make, only one of them would be the clipping mask, the last one I created. Okay? So in order for you to use multiple objects as a clipping path, we need to compound all of those rectangles into one by going to Object, Compound Path, Make. They all jump into one compound path. I then Shift select the image, then Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Awesome! Frankie's in jail!